Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to Behind the Grind. So we are back with some more Space Marine 2 leaks. This time we're going to be talking about the Techmarine and all of the abilities and perks that are going to be coming soon with the Techmarine class in patch 12.0 that is expected to be released sometime around the January or February mark of 2026. So let's go ahead and talk about these new Techmarine leaks. Before that though, I'd appreciate it if you could give the video a like and subscribe to the channel if you are not already, and a big shout out to all the channel members for supporting the channel. Without further ado, let's go ahead and check out these new Techmarine leaks. So here we have all the leaked perks for the Techmarine class. We have the ability all the way up here at the top, and we also have the team perks all the way here at the bottom. I'm going to be going through each and every one of these and kind of giving my 2 cents when it comes to each of these perks. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start off with the shoulder gun ability. So unleash a powerful volley from the shoulder gun and starting perk. You can detect and activate sentry turrets. They will attack enemies until they run out of ammo or are destroyed. So the ability in and of itself is the shoulder gun, and then I think that this is going to be either a passive or one of the first perks that you can get, and you can detect and activate sentry turrets around the world. So this is going to prove extremely beneficial for those who are playing, especially something like siege mode, or when playing through operations that present the player with a defensive segment of that specific mission. You can find and activate sentry turrets that will fight enemies on your behalf. So this is definitely one of those perks that, if not a passive, you're definitely going to want to run on your Techmarine. And if it is a passive, well, hey, that's definitely a W for everybody who's trying to play the Techmarine. But moving on to the next perk, we have Ranged Overdrive. After using equipment, your range damage is increased by X amount for X amount of seconds. So pretty good perk overall, just a basic perk at the end of the day. You use equipment and your range damage is increased. So yeah, good perk, nothing bad to say here. Next up, we have Sniper Lock. So shoulder gun now locks at a single target and fires powerful sniper shots. This is definitely going to be a perk that everyone is going to want to use when it comes to extremist enemies or even terminus enemies, or at the end of the day, those end of the mission bosses, because you can focus on a single target and it will fire powerful sniper shots. Next up, we have Plasma Shot. So the shoulder gun now guards a targeted area and fires exploding plasma projectiles at enemies that enter it. So this is one of those perks that is very good for mob control. This is one of those things that you definitely want to use on, like, decapitation, for example, when you're defending the bridge and you have all those Tyranids coming at you and just kind of pooling onto you, or even in Ballistic Engine when they try to attack the train. Segments like that is where a perk like Plasma Shot is definitely going to shine every other perk. Next up, we have Arc Cleave, which damage from charged melee attacks increases by X amount. Definitely a good perk if you're going to be using the new Arc melee weapon, because we don't have any more information as to the other melee weapons that will be usable with the Techmarine. However, this is one of those perks that you're definitely going to want to run if you want to focus more on damage with melee weapons. But next up from that, we have Weak Spot, which enemies damaged by equipment take X amount more damage for X amount more seconds. So one of those perks, once again, that heavily incentivizes the use of equipment damage, and it incentivizes a lot of teamwork with your teammates, because if you're going up against a boss and you have a perk like Weak Spot, then you can go ahead and stun one of the bosses like the Trigon at the end of Exfiltration. And with this Weak Spot perk, you can damage him with those Melt-A-Bombs and just completely obliterate him with more Melt-A-Bombs that your buddies use. But moving on to Deflective Stance, after perfect parry or perfect block, you take X amount less damage from ranged attacks for X amount seconds. So if you are using like those melee perks and you're more focused on a melee type of class, this is one of those other perks that will definitely help you. After using a perfect parry or a perfect block, you will take less amount damage from ranged attacks. So definitely a good perk nonetheless for those defensive playstyles. Moving on from that, we have Equipment Mastery. So damage from equipment is increased by X amount. Pretty self-explanatory, nothing bad to say. Next up, we have Blood Rush. After a finisher, your melee weapon deals X amount more damage for X amount seconds. So once again, one of those melee perks, definitely good if you are using a melee build with the Techmarine. But the next one is one of the most interesting for me, is long shot. So range damage at ranges greater than X amount of meters is increased by X amount of damage. So we're going to have to wait and see what kind of ranged weapons we can even use with the Techmarine, because we haven't had any loadouts that have been leaked as of late, and we don't know what kind of weapons we can be using. So maybe we'll get one of those sniper bolters, or we can use a stalker bolter. We'll just have to wait and see. But with something like long shot, ranges greater than X amount, kind of tells me that we will have access to some of those longer ranged weapon choices. So pretty interesting perk nonetheless. Moving on from that though, we do have marked prey. Enemies hit by shoulder gun take X amount more damage for X amount seconds. So definitely another good perk to run if you are fighting up against like a Majora's heavy level through stratagems, or if you're going up against a boss, because by getting hit by the shoulder gun, that enemy will take more amount of damage. So you're definitely going to want to run this perk. Next up, we have Unstoppable, which while shoulder gun is active, you do not lose control upon taking heavy hits, and you cannot be knocked back. Once again, not losing control after taking heavy hits is one of the best kind of perks in the game. So Unstoppable, you're going to want to use on every single build, me personally. Next up, we have Turret Synergy, and this one is also very interesting. Shoulder gun recharge rate increases by X amount when you stay near a sentry turret. So good perk to run if you are actively running those defensive sentry turrets. Definitely want to be using this, because the more your shoulder gun recharges and the more sentry turrets you activate, you're just always going to be using your shoulder gun. So definitely a good perk nonetheless. Next up, we have Quick Cycle. So your shoulder gun recharges a lot faster. So just a base one that recharges your shoulder gun recharge rate a lot quicker. Definitely no difference with Turret Synergy, other than the fact that Quick Cycle is just going to recharge it faster, and then Turret Synergy is just going to recharge it quicker when it's near sentry turret. So kind of a worthless perk in my opinion. I'd probably rather just run Turret Synergy. But moving on from that, we have Sentry Overclock, which sentry turrets damage is increased by X amount and ammo is increased by X amount as well. Definitely a good perk to run, especially if you are playing on Siege and you are using a lot of those defensive perks, because Siege doesn't necessarily incentivize a defensive gameplay style, but by playing the Techmarine and using these sentry turrets, you can definitely play Siege mode in a lot more defensive gameplay styles. So good perk nonetheless at the end of the day. Moving on from Sentry Overclock though, we do have Tactical Salvage, which killing an enemy with a shoulder gun restores X amount of equipment. Cooldown is X amount of seconds. So once again, if you are heavily incentivizing your shoulder gun gameplay alongside the quicker recharge rate, then you are definitely going to want to run this perk, because it will constantly give you equipment restoration. Using something like the Melt-A-Bomb alongside a perk like this will be completely broken, because as you guys already know, Melt-A-Bombs are extremely overpowered, and by having Melt-A-Bombs over and over again, you will definitely be doing a lot of damage, especially when it comes to boss battles that spawn in Majora's and Minora's enemies, kind of like the Hive Tyrant, the Mutalith Vortex Beast, and the Trigon. So great perk right there. Next up, we have Insane Attack, which melee damage is increased by X amount for X amount of seconds after using shoulder gun. Pretty self-explanatory, not the greatest perk out there, but pretty interesting still if you're running a melee attack pattern. Next up, we have Armor Harvest, which killing enemies with shoulder guns restores X amount of armor. Cooldown is X amount of seconds. So pretty interesting perk. I can only see this being useful when playing through stratagems where your health is completely nerfed and you have to keep your armor up. Other than that, kind of a worthless perk. I don't really see this being used as well, because armor restoration is one of those things that is pretty easy if you're just doing like executions and stuff. So yeah, I'm not sure how to feel about that specific perk. But next up, we have Hunter, in which the shoulder gun targets only Majora's level enemies or higher and deals X amount more damage when the target is more than X amount of meters away. So great perk to run if you're going up against Extremis, Terminus, and even those bosses at the end of the missions, right? And then next up from that, Execution Battery, which is also similar to that. Killing or incapacitating Majora's or higher enemies with shoulder gun regenerates its ability by X amount. Cooldown is X amount of seconds. So if these are probably falling within the same category, you can't equip the two of them or else it would be completely broken. But either or, both of these perks do seem pretty well designed and are pretty overpowered from what it sounds like. And next up we have Kill Zone, which the shoulder gun marks a zone and automatically attacks any enemies that enter it using X amount less energy per shot. So like I mentioned with the previous perk that we were talking about earlier before with the plasma shot, this is one of those perks that you're going to want to run if you are holding a defensive position, kind of like at the end of the Inferno mission when a bunch of Tyranids just kind of assault your position. This is one of those that you want to use synergizing with the sentry turrets to just deliver a lot of damage really fast. And then finally, for the regular perks, we have Inflammable Rage, in which shoulder gun shots set enemies on fire, which is pretty self-explanatory. Enemies that are on fire take a lot more damage, so that's definitely a great perk to run at the end of the day. And to really end this off, we have the team perks, right? So over here we have the team perks. Right here to start, we have Bastion Field. All squad members within X amount of meters of an active sentry turret take X amount less damage and deal X amount more damage. So this is going to be your go-to perk in my opinion when playing through Siege and any of the other operations. The next two perks aren't really that well designed in my opinion and don't seem all that overpowered, like Guardian Boost. All squad members fully regenerate their armor and gain additional armor segment when using a healing injector. That's kind of mid, but like I mentioned before, you can really restore your armor segments if you're using executions and if you're doing gun strikes. So kind of a pointless perk in my opinion. Definitely something that I'm not going to personally use. And finally at the bottom we have Team Resupply, in which all squad members gain X amount additional equipment except for the Melt-A-Bomb. So hey, once again, kind of pointless because the Melt-A-Bomb is really the only good piece of equipment in operations. Sure, the frag grenades and the shock grenades are, and even the crack grenades are well designed, but the Melt-A-Bomb is definitely the best one because you want to be dealing all that extra damage to the bosses and the extremist and terminus enemies. And if you can't carry more than one Melt-A-Bomb, then it's not really the best perk there is. So definitely Bastion Field is the one you're going to want to be running if you are using the Techmarine class. But that's pretty much it for the video. If you enjoyed, go ahead and drop a like, subscribe if you are not already. Once again, big shout out to all the channel members. Your support is greatly appreciated. If you want to join the channel members, go ahead and click the link in the pinned comment in the comment section down below. I appreciate all the members, and once again, thank you. This has been Behind the Grind, talking about the new Techmarine class coming soon to Space Marine 2 in patch 12, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace!